behalf of the board of the Banner Lake Club, on behalf of the citizens of Banner Lake, the residents, and the citizens of Hope Sound proper, we welcome each and every one of you here today on this historic occasion. It looks like everybody's here. You know, yesterday this time I was wondering what the weather was going to be like. But it looks like even the sun showed up. The invocation we're going to have by Reverend George.
Let us bow our heads just for a moment. Our Father and our God, in the name of Jesus, once again, you look beyond our faults and you're seeing our needs. So we thank you for your grace and your mercy. We ask that you continue to bless all those that are here, and not only just here, but all over the world. And help us, Father, to make it through this wilderness of this COVID-19 virus. Bless us. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I'd just like to set the stage for the moment. I've scanned the audience, and I'm aware that many of you are Banner Lake residents in one form or another. Some reside here, some have family or friends here, and some care enough just to share in this wonderful time with us. The Banner Lake Club has occupied this perch at the top of the hill for nearly 82 years now. It would be somewhat similar to a lighthouse, meant to provide a beam of light to help the lost to find a safe space. The Banner Lake Club, for me and for many of you, provided that safe space when we needed it most during our formative years. And at this point, I just want to pause to say that I virtually lived in the shadow of the Banner Lake Club most of my life that meant anything. Matter of fact, I lived right across the street there. And so truly I'm a witness to all the activities that have taken place here over the years, and certainly all the lives that it has touched, and just the advantages that it placed this community in by having such facilities as this. Many dreams came true here. Many wishes were granted. Early residents sheltered from the hurricane here. Marriages took place, reception parties, baby showers. Santa comes to town here every year. The first Santa was Mr. Bobby Preston, and now it's Aaron Dames, and it's been sponsored by Harry and the Natives for nearly 30 years now. If you're aware that, some of you are aware that the Dunbar Elementary School during the times of segregation was right next door on the same property, currently occupied by the Dunbar Learning Center. And so the Banner Lake Club was our kind of de facto auditorium. This is where all the school plays were held and all the events associated with the elementary school. Recreational activities were held here. It was once the site of a daycare center, church services, and funeral repasses. And we commonly refer sometimes to the funeral repasses as the other family reunions. Social events of all kinds took place here. And did I mention that young people and seniors are still celebrated here? This is all possible because the vision of a giant of a man and his wife, Mr. and Mrs. Barstow. I do want to add, for historical purposes, that he also had the land platted for the entire neighborhood. I want to mention that 7 of the houses on Florida Avenue was actually homes owned by persons who were employed by the Barstows. To put this building in proper perspective, This building was erected in 1939. This was some 25 years before the military was integrated and would not, in fact, not be integrated for another decade. This building was the only one I'm aware of where I don't believe race ever mattered, and where it was because of the Barstows and the Reed family and the Jubal Island residents and the community chest, later local government, and so many other donors, that this building continues to exist today. And with that, I'd like to bring up Commissioner Harold Jenkins.
This will be short and sweet since I didn't realize I was supposed to say anything. So, this building has been an asset to this community for a very long time. Growing up in Hope Sound, I remember back in the 60s, we used to, this all was one community, whether it was Zeus Park, whether it was Banner Lake, we all kind of got along and we all played baseball together, and this was the center of it. And I'm so proud that that this building has been restored to the way it is, and it's entering into its next stage of life. And congratulate everybody that was involved with it. Mike Innes did a wonderful job. And anyway, thank you very much. Thanks.
I'd like to pause for a second just to recognize some persons. I know that we have Mr. Tony Anderson, the school board member here. Tony, if you raise your hand. Mr. Jordan Pastorius, who steers the historical board. Jordan. We have Ms. Vicki Norton. She's the chair of the Historical Preservation Board. We have the Martin County TV staff here. Sue Ellen Milroy is here, and certainly I want to recognize her. She was with us from a long time ago, and certainly her support will never be forgotten. The Oddens are here. Thank you so much for coming. Pops, Harold White. I don't think this building would have survived without Harold White. He was just a caretaker here for so many years. He scheduled the activities. He was the chief cook, the bottle washer, the repairman. You name it, he made it go. And Harold also had a lot of personal relationships with the right people. And he could make some things happen when it looks like nothing was going to happen at all. Harold White, thank you so much. I want to pause for a second and go back to Ms. Vicki Norton. Ms. Norton, if you have anything you'd like to say at this time.
I think I'm just as surprised as the commissioner. As he mentioned, Nikki Norton I'm the current chair of the historic board. I used to kid a lot saying I was the oldest member, but I've been part of this for over 9 years, and we've seen great strides of what we've done, the programming we've done, the designations. When I first started, we only had 6 designations in Martin County, and this is actually going to be about, I think, Jordan, correct me, 16th, 18th, yeah, we're getting up there. We have one more to do as well in All Saints. So we're making great strides in the community. It takes people like you who help us continue to sustain and, preserve in this community. And I'm so thankful to be here with y'all today. So congratulations.
Next up, we're going to ask Mr. Scott Berry, who represents the Hope Sound Community Chest, to come forward.
I, like Harold, will be brief because my speech just blew away. Thank you. First time I ever did any public speaking, right before I went on stage, the fellow I was there with, he said, "Always remember, Scott, they're not here to hear you." So I'm going to make it brief. Well, I'm standing here today. I'm standing here in front of a historic landmark. A historic landmark that, dare I say, lives in a historic community here. This is a community that's had highs and lows. It's faced all forms of adversity. Adversity unique to the community. Jim Crow, segregation, the Klan, more hurricanes than any of us can name. This community has preserved its identity in the face of all these challenges. This building is a symbol of that. The Chest has been a guest in this community for over 70 years. We've been a partner with you in those 70 years. The people who helped build this building, they went on to help create the Chest. When this building needed to be rebuilt, the Chest was there. When this building's big baby brother down the street needed to be built, the Chest was there. 70 years. Well, I hope we haven't worn out our welcome. We look forward to the next 70 years of partnership, and we are proud to be a part of what you have done here. I'm Scott Berry. I'm with the Hope Sound Community Chest.
There's some things that just can't be separated. Let's see if I can come up with an example. I don't think basketball could be the same without Michael Jordan. And as a result, there's no way we get here without our next speaker, Julie Priest. She'll give us a historical overview. I believe it was said that there's almost 17 historical facilities or building. And I'd probably gamble that Julie Priest has had something to do with a significant portion of them. Without any further ado, Julie Priest.
Thank you, Alfred, and thank all of you for coming here today and sitting in the sun and here in the front. And Mr. White, we've never met, but I definitely thank you. You did a good job with the building. I am going to be the most long-winded one here, so I'm going to speak fast so that you're not in the sun too long, but you're going to get a real history lesson. As Alfred said, this building was erected in 1939. The contractor was Hugh Callan. He was the superintendent for the Barstow Estate on Jupiter Island. What is significant about this building? The Banner Lake Clubhouse is an example of masonry, vernacular, public building constructed for the purpose of serving as a storm shelter and community center during the period of segregation for African American residents of Banner Lake. Prominent philanthropist, Mr. and Mrs. William Slocum Barstow, gifted the land and structure to newly incorporated Banner Lake Club with the stipulation that persons of any race could use the structure for recreation and as a storm shelter. The exterior poured concrete walls, foundation piers, stucco, and coins. The coins are those on each corner of the building. They're called coins, and they're spelled Quoins. And hip roof of the Banner Lake Clubhouse are original. The roof shingles were replaced with the hurricane-resistant metal roof in 2019. Interior original materials, such as plastered walls and Dade County pine floors, remain in place and have been covered with the new finishes that you'll see a little bit later. Impact windows and doors have replaced the original fenestration. The kitchen addition is also constructed with poured concrete walls and flooring like that in the hall, indicating that it was added during the construction of the community center or soon after. A combination office with restroom was connected to the kitchen and original community center in 1956. A detached block construction library was built in 1968 and connected to the original community center with a breezeway. The multi-use room was added in 1996. The ADA exterior ramp was installed in 2013. The original community center, kitchen, office, which is now a storage room, and entrance portico were renovated and rehabilitated in 2020 by Michael Ennis, who's standing there in the gray shirt. And the stage was removed to allow space for ADA compliant restrooms. And Michael will be telling you after me the work that he did. Now we'll discuss the architecture and design. The original features: large size coins accentuate the corners of the front facade, angled concrete buttress with knee walls, which is this section right here, flank the entrance and provide a distinctive feature for the building. Brick exterior window sills accentuate the windows. You can see those under the windows. Generally smooth stucco finishes on the exterior, along with Dade County pine fascia boards under the eaveless drip edge. Inventor Thomas Edison constructed a few concrete homes in New Jersey, some of which still stand. They were promoted as being fireproof, insect-proof, easy to clean, and at a very affordable price of $1,200. Mr. William Slocum Barstow, experienced engineer and donor of the Banner Lake Clubhouse, worked for Mr. Thomas Edison and supervised the construction of electric plants. It stands to reason that the Banner Lake Clubhouse, designed and constructed to serve as a storm shelter, was built with poured concrete walls, since Mr. Barstow had already tested that type of construction for industrial applications. In addition, the hip roof design serves two purposes for the exterior. It allows rainwater to easily slide off and offers much less resistance to the wind. Good qualities for a shelter. The eaveless design roof, most of us call it an overhang, also provided less wind resistance during storms. The interior high ceiling, made possible by the hip roof design, allows hot air to rise and thereby help keep the interior hall cooler. Remember, when this was built, there was no air conditioning. Now we'll get into the setting and integrity of this location. Alfred touched upon it. The Banner Lake Clubhouse is located at the same place where it was originally constructed in 1939. We can't say that for many of our historic buildings anymore. The original building was never moved or rebuilt in any way. The land was donated to Banner Lake Club by Mr. and Mrs. William Slocum Barstow, who also paid for the construction and created the design with their Jupiter Island Estate Superintendent, Mr. Hugh Callan. The building's finished floor is almost 3 feet above grade and contains a crawl space under the hall except for the original restrooms, which were in this area. The building is under no threat of being flooded by rising stormwater. The location with the high-pitched roof, along with the crawl space height, makes the clubhouse most visible and prominent when viewed from the street. Obviously, those factors were considered by Mr. Barstow when he planned this public building. The building site is a serene and peaceful place to enjoy. The location for the Banner Lake Clubhouse and the 2019 Banner Lake Community Center, which is next door, leave plenty of green space between the lake and the structures. There is a lake behind us, folks. Children from the neighboring Dunbar Early Learning Center, which is over here to my left, your right, may easily walk to the Banner Lake Clubhouse, the new community center, and accompanying playground. The same applies for adults attending the Masonic Lodge and nearby churches. Most homes are within a half a mile from the Banner Lake Clubhouse, thereby making this a walkable location. In 1938, the cost for construction of the Banner Lake Clubhouse, which was originally known as the Barstow Community Center, was between $2,500 and $3,000. Wish we could have that again today, don't we? Let me move on to the association with the philanthropist. William Slocum Barstow lived from 1866 to 1942. His wife, Francois Duclos Barstow, lived from 1876 to 1958. Joseph Werner Reed was born in 1902 and passed away in 1973. And Permelia Pryor Reed was born in 1906 and she passed away in 1994. Those were the key philanthropists. William and Francois Barstow were winter residents of Jupiter Island starting in 1930 and made the Banner Lake Clubhouse possible. They donated the land and the structure to the newly formed Banner Lake Club, Incorporated. The superintendent of the Barstow estate, as I mentioned earlier, Hugh Callan, and Mr. Barstow worked together on the design of the structure. Mr. Barstow was the principal founder of the Hobe Sound Company. Mr. Barstow was an outstanding figure in the field of electrical development. His contributions and those of his wife include, they donated the land and construction and constructed the Banner Lake Club here in Hobe Sound, obviously, the Boys Club in Hobe Sound, 5 churches in Hobe Sound Community Center, Hobe Sound Presbyterian Community Church, Martin County Hospital. In 1939, there is a packet of information that contains a picture of the hospital for those of you who have seen it. We started at this end, hopefully it's making its way to that end. Take a look at that building. I think that was the second hospital that was built in Martin County. Look at the roof, look at the symmetrical windows. You can see where the idea for this building was derived. Bequest to employees of the Barstow estate, and you'll see an article there where Mrs. Barstow left in her will, I think it was $200,000 to people that worked with her. Bequest to religious leaders, gave land and contributed to St. Mary's Episcopal Church in Stewart. They built the 1939 Christ Memorial Chapel in Hobe Sound. They built the Episcopal Rectory and Sunday School and Recreation Building in Jupiter Island. And those are just the local things. There's a list of everything they did throughout this nation. When the Barstows donated the funds for the construction of the Martin County Hospital, they stipulated that no one should be refused medical care for lack of means, and there should be facilities for all races. That was really extraordinary. Just remember, we're talking 1939. We're just about to go into the war. The similar stipulation appears in the land deed for the Banner Lake Club site, that persons of any race will be permitted to use the facilities. That was unheard of. Editor of the Stewart News, Edwin Menninger, in his newspaper article of September 3rd, 1957, says how he and Mr. Reed, that's Mr. Reed of Jupiter Island, talked about how to encourage Mr. and Mrs. Barstow to build a new hospital in Stewart. Mr. Reed had already been a dependable donor to the existing hospital in the amount of $1,000 and $2,000 for when the hospital needed funding the most. So Mr. Menninger wrote a 4-page letter to Mr. Barstow asking for $40,000 to build a new hospital, and Mr. Barstow did not respond. 2 months later, one of Mr. Barstow's employees was seriously hurt in an accident, and no one would give his employee medical attention because African Americans were not permitted in the hospital due to segregation. I think we all kind of forget how things were. Things were pretty bad. That's what spurred Mr. Barstow to design and build a $250,000 hospital that would serve everyone, no matter what their skin color. Mr. and Mrs. Reed donated the hospital equipment. The hospital was dedicated in 1939, the same year as our building here. And of course, the Banner Lake Club was dedicated for the black community. Mr. Reed was the vice president of the Hobe Sound Company. When he became president within a few years, he had acquired all of the company stock. That purchase included approximately 2,000 acres on Jupiter Island and Hobe Sound and Jupiter Island Club and the Hobe Sound Water Company. The goal was to create a quiet place for wealthy families to spend winters. The plan was for all commercial activity and housing for Jupiter Island employees to occur on the mainland, right here in Banner Lake. Mrs. Permelia Reed, his wife, an heiress to the Remington Arms Company, she received that fortune, ran the Jupiter Island Club, where many of the wealthy winter residents stayed. Some built permanent homes on the island. Employees were needed to work at the Jupiter Island Club and at the winter homes of the wealthy, and many were hired as domestics, drivers, gardeners, etc. The majority of the employees were African Americans from the mainland, this area right here, Hobe Sound. Mr. Reed wanted to be fair. Therefore, he set lower rates for the African American residents of Banner Lake. Remember, he owned the water company. Years later, the Public Service Commission insisted on charging the same rates to those on the mainland and Jupiter Island. Mr. Reed's son, Nathaniel Reed, who many of you should remember, mitigated the increased rates by quietly insisting that no water could be turned off for any member of the Banner Lake or Hope Sound communities for failure to pay their monthly water bills without his personal sign-off. Often the delinquent bills for people who had suffered personal problems and were financially unable to pay what now would be considered very small bills were mysteriously paid by anonymous benefactors. The philanthropic contributions by the Reed family and the Hope Sound Company include equipment for the 1939 Martin County Hospital, creation of the Banner Lake Village, Inc. for Banner Lake housing in 1941. They would give loans to folks who were unable to get loans otherwise so that they could build their homes and renovate their homes. And land in 1944 to be kept as a village green, and that would be Zeus Park. 2 lots in Zeus Park, a park for the Hope Sound Civic Center, Hope Sound Civic Center, and additional land to enlarge the public beach at Bridge Road, land for the Hope Sound Fire Station, land adjacent to the fire station for athletic fields, and family and friends donated the infrastructure, tennis courts, ball fields, overhead lights, bleachers, landscape, and that was dedicated in 1978 as J.V. Reed Park. They also donated 1 mile of Jupiter Island to the Florida Audubon Society for a wildlife refuge. They founded the Hope Sound Community Chest, as you just heard earlier, that supports the underserved and Banner Lake Club. Joseph Werner Reed formed Banner Lake Village in 1941 in order to build and remodel homes in Banner Lake for African Americans. In 1949, Joseph and Permelia Reed founded the Hope Sound Community Chest that continues to support the Dunbar Center, the Hope Sound Early Learning Center, the Banner Lake Club, and Hope Sound chapter of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Martin County, in addition to other organizations that assist the underserved. The Jupiter Island residents raise funds and distribute significant sums to those in need. Segregation in the United States, cultural, social, and economics. Desegregation became mandatory after the 1964 Civil Rights Act was signed by President Lyndon Johnson. Public accommodations were to be accessible to peoples of all races. As we know, there was significant strife in the South with the desegregation mandate. The Barstows had the Banner Lake Club constructed in order to provide storm shelter and recreation center for African Americans. Blacks were not permitted to use the same public accommodations as whites. There were separate water fountains, restrooms, restaurants, motels, entertainment venues, schools, medical facilities, etc. Just about every amenity was separated. Government and commercial buildings had restrooms and water fountains labeled colored, black, or white. I remember those. There are signs that make us cringe now, but remember that African Americans had to sit in specific places while using public transportation. The wealthy residents on Jupiter Island valued their privacy along with the services provided by employees. Most of the employees were African American domestics, drivers, gardeners, etc. Permelia said, "This was the days when chauffeurs, butlers, valets, nannies, cooks, nurses, and governesses were a normal part of Jupiter Island households." She said that the war had taken all the young men away. And so she took the responsibility for running the Jupiter Island Club after her husband left to serve in the military during World War II. Life as they knew it on Jupiter Island was dependent upon the work of the Banner Lake African Americans. Maintenance of the lush vegetative environment of Jupiter Island required lots of labor to keep it looking nice. The work Permelia Reed supervised to keep the Jupiter Island Club rentals neat and clean, the entertainment and dining amenities operating, demanded a large, well-trained workforce. At the same time, those jobs provided the means for African Americans to have a good standard of living in a segregated society. There was an interdependent relationship between the Jupiter Island Club, Jupiter Island residents, and the African American workers of Banner Lake. In addition, the economic success of the Jupiter Island Club was most dependent on the reliability, efficiency, and social skills of the workforce from Banner Lake. The Barstows and Reeds acted on the needs of the employees by building a hospital, the Banner Lake Clubhouse, and affordable housing in Banner Lake. Places where African Americans could receive medical care, be safe in a storm, enjoy recreation, and a decent place to live. The Banner Lake Clubhouse became the hub of the Banner Lake community. It was the core location for social life. Especially during the period of segregation, Membership in the Barstow Community Center, which was the original name of the Banner Lake Clubhouse, was $7. Membership dues were collected to defray maintenance costs. The Banner Lake Clubhouse has represented the heart of the Banner Lake community, especially during the periods of segregation. It provided and continues to provide a safe place for citizens to gather for various social and educational purposes. In 1965, the Banner Lake Club building was established as a public library. Lewis Buddy Preston was the first male Banner Lake African American to run for a seat on the Board of County Commissioners in the 1960s. The first publicized political rally held at the Banner Lake Clubhouse was scheduled for April 28, 1966. Another notable change resulting from desegregation in the mid-1960s was the publication of articles in newspapers and events held in Banner Lake. Prior to the 60s, folks, there's very little in the newspapers because that's what I do, is historic research on anything having to do with activities with African Americans. Newspaper articles about issues, events, and services in the Banner Lake Clubhouse include preschool clinic for Dunbar Elementary School, 1967, teen program to replace child care center, 1967, Stewart Training School class of 1963, class reunion, 1973, Club Excelsior, founded in 1954 in East Stewart. They had a spring dance here in 1975. There was a fish kill in Banner Lake in 1975, and Nathaniel Reed asked for testing. Special Crisis Intervention Energy Program. People could apply for utility funding, and that was in August of 77. 4-H clubs met here. The vote at Banner Lake Club, so this was a voting poll in 1981. Banner Lake Club also donated $4,000 towards the new Hope Sound Library in 1963. The Banner Lake Club Summer Youth Program, 1984, voter registration again in 1984. Treasure Coast Senior Services, Hot Meals for Senior programs, started in August of 1985, and that went on weekly. Week-long neighborhood cleanup of Banner Lake in 1985. Jesus House of Hope starts food distribution on Mondays, and thank you, Rob Ranieri. He's here. If you'll raise your hand, Rob. There he is. He is the director of House of Hope. They started in 1988. They had a free Thanksgiving feast by 15 churches in 1988. They had barbecue chicken fundraiser for the Dunbar Early Learning Center, Council on Aging craft classes, fashion show to benefit the Dunbar Center, male fashion show for the St. Paul AME Church, babysitting classes, basic first aid training by the American Red Cross, President Clinton Community Service Program, continued support for the Hope Sound Community Chest. The Governor Lawton Childs grants $50,000 for summer youth program in June of 1996. The Children's Services Council, Boys and Girls Club, and Governor's Office gave them a $91,000 grant to continue the youth program in January of 1997. Martin Luther King events, Home Fest 2006 by Martin County Community Development, volunteer Spruce Up Banner Lake, teen program, Banner Lake Club's first political forum, second annual Family Day dinner in 2016, Banner Lake Float. They won the Best Hope Sound History winner in December of 2016. House of Hope. House of Hope's 3 nutritional gardens in 2017, the 5th annual Family Day dinner with House of Hope in October of 2019, and then the ribbon cutting of the new Banner Lake Community Center in October of 2019. And that's a beautiful facility. I hope some of you get to see it. I'm almost done, folks. Obviously, thank you for your patience. Obviously, this 1939 Masonry Vernacular Center is worthy of the Martin County Historic Preservation designation that lists it on the Martin County Historic Register. This structure represents 82 years of continuous service to the public under the stewardship of the hardworking Banner Lake Club. It will be here in service for generations to come. Thank you.
Great job,
Very precise. I don't think there's anybody better than her. She's just a forensic, historical person, and without her, there's no way we get this done. And I just look forward to her next project. We have a presentation now by Holliday Cahey. Julie, she'll come to you though. Down.
These are for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, Lazarus was resurrected by Jesus. And Michael Ennis resurrected the Banner Lake Club. Up next, Michael Ennis, and following Michael Ennis will be Wendy Reynosa, the Executive Director.
Thank you, and I'll be really short. I think that Julie covered everything, did a beautiful job at it. Her and Alfred spent an enormous amount of time to do the research on this building. And this building is everything they said. When we walked into this building, there were doubts about the structure, doubts about what it was. We found a fabulous structure, a great building to work with all the cooperation from the community, especially from the Banner Lake Club. We have hope that we have put this building back to functional use for the next 80 years. That's really all I have to say. Thank you very much for coming.
Good evening, everyone. I want to begin by thanking Alfred Miller, the president of the board, because without him, we wouldn't be here today.
All right, that's right.
It took a lot of sweat, tears, finding stories, collecting data, collecting photographs in order for us to be here today. And he really took his time and didn't give up. So thank you. He's too shy, I guess. He's okay. His sister says he's not shy, and so does his wife. But anyway. I think for me, outside of this vision that I'm seeing here with all of you wonderful people, the thing that really tugs my heart are the kids to the right of us and the BLAST staff to the right of us. They are going to be, they are the beneficiary of this beautiful building. And so they're the ones who now have to take care of this building and maintain this building. And these are the faces that you will see coming in and out of this building Monday through Friday from 3 o'clock until 8 o'clock most nights. And so I just want to be able to say, teens and BLAST staff, thank you for taking care of our historical building.
You're welcome.
Well, and so without any further ado, I will be introducing our student speaker, Zamani. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Amani Delancey, and I am a tween here at the BLAST program. I will be saying a poem. Imagine a community full of love and laughter, full of joy, and the love grows faster. Little ones playing all around, Old Banner Lake in the heart of Hope Sound. So much history in our bloodlines. The youth in this community were meant to shine. I am proud to be from Banner Lake. Because of that, I will be great. Thank you.
The purposes of the building has never changed, and youth involvement is a critical part of the history of this building, as well as the neighborhood and the community itself. I believe I would be remiss. See, I made some notes here somewhere if I can find them. But I do want to mention the fact that this building was built during a time where it was a challenging period. So here in the Banner Lake community, we all stand on the shoulder of the giants that came before us. And it's our job to keep this building, the neighborhood, in a good shape so that we're able to pass it on to the next generation. Julie spoke about the gentleman who was hurt on the Boston plantation. estate. And as a result, it catapulted Mr. Barstow to put the money up for a brand new hospital that would serve everyone. That gentleman was very own Mr. Rufus Bartlett. Then we had Mr. Joe Moment, Sr. We had Mr. Charles Hargate, Mr. Julia Bryant, my mentor and friend, Mr. M.L. Hurst, and so many others who came so that we could enjoy all the opportunities that were available to us, and these were people that forever held us accountable. And with that, I'm going to say that there's no way that we could have been successful here without the assistance and the help of all the people that Julie named. And there's no way that this date and this time could have been successful without your presence here. And for that, we are eternally grateful. Having said that, I'd like to invite everyone just to come inside and take a tour of this building, as well as the building next door. And we do have some refreshments. Thank you so much again. Thank you. And thank you for the musician, Mr. Derek Taylor.